Hello, my beautiful friends. If you are just now joining in, well, obviously you're just now joining in, but if you have never seen me before, my name is Cami, and what I like to do here on YouTube is I like to talk about true crime, and I call out scams, specifically of the multi-level marketing brand. But today I'm here to encourage everyone to submit their comments to the FTC, to report false income claims, to report anything that you see that is just not okay with multi-level marketing scams. And that's what I want all of you to do today. You can go to regulations.gov and you can report all of the scams that you see. And I'll put the link in the comments below. Well, to the side. I think on YouTube it's to the side. And I'm going to link the website that you can find all the information on, just so that way everyone will have it. But today, what I'm here to do is I'm here to talk about my experience with Herbalife because, oh boy, is it it's a bit of a doozy. So let's talk about that, shall we? So you may have heard this story because I submitted it to Isabella Lancer's channel back in like 2020, and she read it I think at the beginning of 2021. Hi, thank you so much for joining me, Megan. Thank you. So I actually submitted the story to Isabella Lancer, and I think I submitted it to Deanna Mim's channel as well. But I know for a fact that Isabella read it out on her channel because I remember specifically commenting on it. I don't know for sure if Deanna read it on her channel, but we're just going to dive right into it. So at the end of February of 2020, I went to the ER with some pains in my lymph nodes. That's what I think. I think everyone will be popping in soon. So I'm just going to start. And if anyone wants me to repeat anything, I can repeat anything. Or if anyone wants me to wait, I can actually wait. What do y'all think I should do? Do you think I should just go ahead and start it? Or do you think I should wait till some more people pop in? How's everyone doing tonight, by the way? Okay, then I'll wait a couple minutes. I hope everyone's doing good. Good. I'm glad to hear that, Lisa. What trip are you going on, Emery? You're sewing, Megan? What are you sewing? I wish I could sew. Also, I totally procrastinate. I procrastinate all the time. That's what I'm thinking. I think everyone's probably taking a break. Oh, that sounds like fun. I've never been to one of those, a Clearwater Spring. Oh, that's so sweet. A baptism outfit made out of a grandfather shirt. That's really sweet. That's so interesting. How long does it take you to get to Florida? Oh, is that what you do for your job, Megan? The Boss Babe game was so much fun. Herbalife is such an OG. It's been around since what? When did Herbalife become established? It's been around since at least like the 90s. 1980. It was founded in 1980. Oh, I used to live about 2 hours from Atlanta. Yep, 1980. Yep. Yeah, stay safe on that drive. It's a long drive. One of my best friends, he's the same way. He said he feels bad charging what it actually costs, but he enjoys it. And like he totally undercharges for what he for the work that he does. Yeah, I know. Everyone, and especially with like the Herbalife cafes, which feel like doing a deep dive on one of those, and especially with the cafes, it feels like there's no one left to recruit. I have not seen some of the old Mark Hughes footage. I didn't even know that was around. Yeah, the cafes are wild. Let me pull it out. I found their like entire docket about the Herbalife cafes. So I really want to do a deep dive on it. I know Deanna Mims has done one of them, but I kind of want to do my own. It's it's wild. They have some weird rules about it. Like one of the rules is like, oh, a customer doesn't have to come into the club, and it's like, no duh. Yeah, they call them nutrition clubs because it's like they can't legally call them cafes or they can't legally call them smoothie shops or whatever because of the laws surrounding it. The only Herbalife cafes around. Yes, they heavily prey on the entire Hispanic community. One of my good friends, her mom or their mom was actually preyed on by Herbalife. There was a smoothie shop my work friend would go to, and nobody believed me when I told them it was MLM. Yeah, no one here believes me whenever I'm like, this is an MLM, this is a pyramid scheme. Like they literally got sued for being a pyramid scheme. Why won't anyone listen to me? My friend's daughter's so excited for new cafe, trying to explain to her not to go, but she loves their product. Did you tell her about all the liver failure? Yeah, they didn't early on though, so people were mixing in the product to make rings. Oof. I'm old and I remember people selling Herbalife when I was in my 20s and the 80s. I remember the big Herbalife magnets stuck to the side of the doors, people's car doors who were selling it. Yeah, that still goes on. Like, we saw one today. It's kind of funny because I work at Smoothie King, and we saw one today that it was like a big car decal of just Herbalife in the parking lot of our Smoothie King. Like, we have like a couple different things around our Smoothie King. Like, it's in a strip mall, but it was just so funny that it was in the parking lot of what's next to a Smoothie King. So Herbalife has been linked to liver failure. There's been a couple cases of it. Let me pull up the let me pull up the but yeah, there was like this whole thing about it's from like a government website too. In Taiwan, they have sous vide restaurants and gyms all over the island. The gym has these electric. What? The balls on these reps is astounding. I know, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, since we have about 9 people here, I'm going to go ahead and talk about my experience with Herbalife. So, um, growing up, my mom was in several MLMs, so I always kind of knew what an MLM was, or at least I knew of like the business structure. Betting on Zero is a good Herbalife documentary. I don't think it's on Netflix anymore. Last I saw it was on Amazon Prime for like $2 to rent. But my mom was in like Avon. She was in someone from the 80s that I don't remember the name of. That was before I was born. She was in Mary Kay. She was in Paparazzi. She was in Monate. She was in a couple other different ones too. So growing up, she always kind of spent her money on trying to stay in the ranks. Hi, Michelle. She always kind of spent her money on trying to stay in the ranks, but it was never anything like long term. Like after like the second month when she had to, pay all that money, she kind of gave up. Herbalife tries a bunch of different ways to sugarcoat sales under surveillance with the FTC. That's one of the main reasons for the nutrition clubs, I bet. Probably. That's a good point. But she never like brought us into debt, She never like spent so much money on MLM products that it put us into serious debt. So I don't have an experience like that, but I do have an experience that's kind of really emotional for me. So if I start crying, y'all, I'm sorry. So back in February of 2020, I went to the ER because I had some pain right here. I don't know if you can still see it, but I have a scar right here from where they took out my lymph nodes, and that's kind of what we're getting to. That's kind of what we're getting to the point of. I had very swollen lymph nodes, and my family has a long history of cancer, so I didn't want to take any risks because I was like, okay, if it's cancer, I need to get treatment for it. They did a scan on my neck, and over the course of about a week of waiting, the course of a week, they kept me in the hospital because they suspected that I had lymphoma. And long story short, after several weeks of testing and after several weeks of waiting, they came back that I had stage 2A Hodgkin's lymphoma. And they decided to do 8 cycles of chemo. If you see me looking off to the side, it's because I have the email that I sent to Isabella pulled up because I want to get all the details correct. And at this point, some of the details are a little bit fuzzy, especially since I was asleep during this experience. And that sounds kind of confusing, but you'll see what I mean later on in the story. They decided to do 8 cycles of chemo and about a month of radiation to treat it. And every single person in my life was so supportive. Everyone was like, how can I help you? Do you need me to bring you any food? Do you need me to like help you get to your doctor's appointments? What do you need? Everyone was so supportive, which I was super thankful for. And they even helped me out with a GoFundMe to raise some money for my bills because I was out of work. Thankfully, it was right before the I don't want to say the word because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube, before the panorama started. So I qualified for the unemployment, the $600 of unemployment, so I was still able to get my bills paid. But it didn't really like leave me any room for any kind of like fun money. So, because all my money was going to paying my bills. But thankfully I had Medicaid, and so Medicaid paid for all of my doctor's appointments, it paid for all of my chemo, it paid for all of my radiation, which I totaled up how much I would have spent on radiation and chemotherapy, and I would be about $750,000 in debt if it was not for Medicaid. So I'm incredibly thankful for that. So I have very small veins, and they do this thing where they like to roll. They're small, they're deep, and they like to roll. So I couldn't get traditional chemo in the sense that they would have to like stick me like right here every single time. So I had to get what's called a port. And I have my scar right here from where I had my port, and basically it was a little plastic ring that had a metal piece in the middle, and they attached it to one of my veins so that way they could easily find where the metal piece was and inject me through there. But there's complications with the port, and I was one of the people that had complications. It wasn't anything serious, but they thought that my port had flipped over. Turns out I just had a really bad buildup of scar tissue, and they had to get me into like an operations room, like a surgery, so that way hi Kayla. They had to get me into an operations like surgery thing so that way they could remove the scar tissue that had built up in front of my port, because it was preventing them from accessing my port that would let me have the ABVD chemotherapy. So with chemo, treatments have to be on a consistent timetable. And basically, after they did the surgery, they kept my port accessed and they had me still under anesthesia. So yeah. Basically, the only thing that you've missed so far is that I had a port placed for my stage 2A Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a type of cancer. And they had to do a surgery to remove the buildup of scar tissue so that way they could access my port. That's pretty much everything. That's like a long story short. So I was still under the effects of the anesthesia, so I was kind of fading in and out of consciousness, and that is when. So at the cancer center that I went to, I don't know if this is the same in every single cancer center, but they have like a chair and 2 curtains on the side, and sometimes those curtains will be pulled back. And apparently I had an Herbalife distributor next to me, because next thing I know, there is an Herbalife distributor shaking me awake. That's all I remember is someone shaking me awake. Thank you, Carol. All I remember is someone shaking me awake, and she was giving me some kind of spiel about how if I drank some of what she had, that it would really help keep my energy up. I guess she could not tell that I was going in and out of consciousness because of the anesthesia, and for once not because of the chemo making me exhausted, because the whole time I was exhausted. I couldn't really eat much of anything. The only thing I could really eat were those like the fake Chick-fil-A sandwiches from Sam's Club. That was the only thing that didn't taste like rubber to me. As she also decided it would be a good time for her to try to get me to join her downline, because she said, I know you have a ton of medical bills, or she said something along these lines. She said something along the lines of, you must have so many medical bills. So my business would help you pay that off. And of course, I'm fading in and out of consciousness. I'm like, oh, energy? This must be like a nurse that is offering me something for my energy that's going to help keep me awake. I don't put 2 and 2 together that this is like a Arbonne or an Herbalife distributor offering me her product. I asked her what like business, what product that she has, and she's like, she hands me this business card, like a full-on business card, and it's for Herbalife. And I was so appalled and I was so out of it that I threw it back at her, because I remember being so, because I knew what Herbalife was. I knew what MLMs were. Like I said, my mom had dealt with them her whole like life growing up. So I knew what they were. I was disgusted that not only was it was a Hun preying on someone with cancer, wasn't in their right state of mind, but that I know that they were probably a victim themselves, but it's so hard to remember that when they're the medical staff was not there. The medical staff had other like patients they had to attend to. So I think they kind of took the opportunity for when the medical staff stepped away for them to throw their pitch at me. Because I think if the medical staff was there, it wouldn't have happened. Because the staff at the cancer center that I went to was completely lovely the whole time. I don't hold anything against the medical staff. I don't blame them for anything. Is they have a ton of, because it's not like an individual like room or anything. It's like they have like every single time that I was there, almost every single chair was filled up. So so I don't like blame them or anything. I just think that they were stepped away for a minute because they had me hooked up to the chemo. And every single time previously, whenever I was hooked up and had the chemo drugs going through, they they would just step away until the machine went off, till the machine started beeping. Um so I think this particular person just waited until there was no medical staff around, because like I said, I have no doubt that if there was medical staff around, this would not have happened. Yeah, they do. And it makes me sad that this person was preyed on. But to do it to someone else makes me wonder how brainwashed and how deep into it that they are. And it makes me angry, and it also makes me sad. And I just hope that she didn't manage to rope anyone in. And what's especially disgusting is we have an Herbalife nutrition club literally right down the street from this cancer center, and they advertise their shakes as like high protein shakes. And one of the first things that the dietitian tells you when you are like whenever you learn what kind of diet that you need to be on is you need to be on a high protein diet. So I think I don't want to say that it was intentional that they set up there, but I don't think it was a coincidence either. And that's why Herbalife is on like the top of my shit list along with money, because there's also like several Kangen water places around the cancer center for some reason, and they advertise free Kangen water to cancer patients. So we have at least two MLMs that are preying specifically on cancer patients in my hometown, because I don't live over there anymore. But yeah, it was so shocking because they shook me to wake me up, and like I think I would have been a little bit less shocked about the whole situation and a little bit less angry if they had free. If they hadn't shaken me to wake me up. It's like, who does that? Who shakes someone out of a dead sleep to be like, you want to join my team? You want to get some energy? And like I said, I thought it was like a nurse or like a medical professional that was like, we have something that can help you with your energy. And of course, like when she said that, I was like, yeah, of course I want something. And so she took that as like an in to be like, okay, this is the perfect opportunity to pitch. The person was a patient. Yes. Um, it was another person that was, like I said, so the way that this cancer center is set up is they have a chair and they have two curtains and then two chairs and then curtains. So here was my chair, here was a curtain, and then here was their chair, and the curtain was like pulled back because they didn't always have the curtains pulled forward, like closed. So this person was able to see me like asleep. Or I don't know if the curtain, because like I said, I was in and out of sleep. I don't know if this person was like leaving, or if they were getting there and that's when they were like, oh, this is when I need to pitch. So I don't know if the curtain was open or if it was closed. It's because they were thinking about themselves and the money that they can get. Yeah. Yes. They yeah, it's why I hate any kind of MLM that is like, oh, we can, do this with your health. We can do this with your wellness. We can make your hair grow back after cancer. Which, if you go on the chemo hair regrowth tag on Instagram, there's like, it's not like rampant with Monate Huns, but you can find the occasional one in like mixed in, and sometimes there's like a Young Living Hun in there too, and I think I even saw a Beachbody one in there too, all saying that their product can cause your hair to grow back after chemo and after like postpartum. Oily mamas, yeah. So it's funny that you say that because I used to be involved in a cult at the former church that I went to. Like, it hits every model in Stephen Hassan's bite model to be classified as a cult. And there's several of them that are like several of the like wives of the people that are like like high up are involved in Young Living. And several of them are like the oily mamas, and like they'll like slather their infants' heads in like Young Living to try and make their hair grow. Also, sorry if y'all hear any cars. I live literally right by the interstate in New Orleans, so it's a heavy traffic area. So yeah, that's my story with Herbalife. Do y'all want to hear my story about paparazzi from when I worked at a it's a little bit more lighthearted. Do y'all want to see my y'all want to hear my story about when I worked at not when I worked at paparazzi, when I worked at a seafood restaurant, and we used to have paparazzi Huns that came in like every single Sunday. Okay. So basically when um it never so basically in 2019, my mom's old friend reconnects with her and talks to her about a business opportunity. Um and gets her to join paparazzi. And at this point, I was already involved in like, I was kind of anti MLM, but I was like, it didn't really like, I wasn't as heavy as I am now. But I still sent her like income disclosure statements of from paparazzi, told her how it was a scam. Yeah, paparazzi and popcorn shrimp. But my mom's as stubborn as they come. Like, she's super, super stubborn and won't listen to anyone. She has to learn for herself, which is how she got involved in all these different multi-level marketing scams, because she doesn't listen to anything anyone says. Well, she will, but she has to find out for herself. She cut me off and doesn't talk to me. That's how it usually goes, unfortunately. I hate that for you. I'm so sorry. Um, my mom tells her upline, which we're gonna call Rachel, Rachel Hollis. My mom tells her upline, who we're gonna call Rachel, but I work at a seafood restaurant, and that it's a locally owned business, and that's when they start to come in every Sunday, or I'm sorry, it was Saturday, and sit there for upwards of 3 hours at a time, and at least 10 of them would come in, and they would lay out their entire stock on the tables and try and sell to different customers and try and sell to the staff. Um, Not only were they taking up our biggest section on our busiest day of the week during lunch rush, while ordering a 5-piece wing and waters to split between 10 of them, which, yeah, there was like 10 of them, and they would order a 5-piece wing to split between all 10 of them. Sometimes it would be like 15 of them, but it was usually around 10. They were scamming my coworkers and even got one to join them. No, it was not a chain seafood restaurant. It was a locally owned place. Yeah, half a wing to everyone. Everyone gets half a wing or a third of a wing. Occasionally one of them would order a beer. Occasionally. So the worst part is that, yeah, that was the cheapest thing on the menu, was a 5-piece wing. My managers didn't care. They made us wait on them like every other customer, despite them not buying much of anything. And they tipped us in jewelry. Well, the first time they came, they tipped us in actual cash. But by the second or third time that they came, I don't remember which time it was, they started tipping us in this jewelry. And it was like the pieces that didn't sell. It wasn't even like the best selling pieces either. It was like stuff that they couldn't get rid of. swear they would tip us in the jewelry that they could not get rid of. I think one of my coworkers still has it, which I need to tell her to get rid of that because of the whole lead thing. They would also try and walk out on their bill. I gave my mom an earful and asked her why she told this woman where I worked. And it turns out this is not the first time that Rachel and her friends have done this. They got permanently banned from another local restaurant for doing the same exact thing, and not tipping the servers. Where I live, servers only make $2.13 an hour, and thankfully where I worked, we made 10 an hour before tips, so I wasn't losing up on money. I wasn't losing like any money, but the restaurant did end up getting angry customers from us not being able to let them use the big section, and from how loud these women were, because they would like loudly laugh and loudly talk about their business, like trying to get people to join and trying to get people to buy their jewelry. They also always left a mess, trash on the floor, boxes from paparazzi jewelry everywhere, and here's the best part. Every single time, Rachel would pull me aside and she'd be like, "Why isn't your mom working hard enough? Like, if your mom really wants this business to work, she needs to work harder." My mom lives like 8 hours away from me, so she always used me as the middleman to try and berate my mom for what she thought was my mom doing a bad job at her job, because my mom never like cold messaged anyone. My mom signed up. This is like the shortest lived MLM that my mom has ever been in, because she signed up, paid the $200, didn't make any sales, and ate the cost. She didn't even try to make any sales from it. So, yeah, that's my story with paparazzi. It's a lot more lighthearted than my Herbalife story. Yeah, here's a hunk of ugly lead for your troubles. Basically. Oh, we also had an Herbalife convention. Yeah, okay. I really do. I might have to do that a little bit later tonight or like tomorrow or something. We also had an Herbalife convention at the same time as the anime convention that I used to go to during like 2019 or 20, no, it wasn't 2020 because nothing happened in 2020. It was like 2018 or 2019. They had an Herbalife convention at the same hotel. Walking into a restaurant and seeing a bunch of, it was so funny. Like, if it wasn't so like, in hindsight it's funny, but like at the time it was obnoxious. But the fact that they had 5 wings that they didn't even want to pay for, and they would come in with like their big boxes of paparazzi jewelry, and they would come in with like their little rolly carts of the paparazzi jewelry, and they would literally take everything out and set them all up on like our biggest table, our biggest section, and take up the entire thing. So when we had actual like big parties that would come in, we couldn't seat them at this big section because we had these paparazzi women sitting at this big section, and we couldn't just tell them to leave because the managers were like, no, they're still paying customers, blah blah blah. It was wild. Yeah, the managers did not care. It they they were like good friends with the managers, I think. So I think the managers just kind of turned a blind eye to it. Well, okay, one of the managers cared because she was like, because they were getting like complaints. The other one didn't care because it was like a husband and wife team that owned it. It wasn't the managers, it was the owners. Obnoxious is the perfect word to describe these people. Yes. It it was so obnoxious because it's like, okay, what am I supposed to do? I can't just, put a group of 15 people at like a four top. So how am I supposed to, like, we ended up having to push like several tables together, but then that, like, we had to push like several two tops together, but then like they were right next to the paparazzi women, so they ended up getting upset because these women were so loud. Like, when I say these women were loud, it's like, think of a banshee, but like maximize it by like 10. They were talking loudly about the business in general. They would talk about like how well they were doing, or like what which how well they were doing, which only one of the 5 piece has the business expense. Grandma on FaceTime loud. Yes. So yeah, they were talking like super loudly about like how well their business was doing, and like it was just like general like bragging stuff. And I think that's kind of what pissed people off. That and the fact that no one wanted to hear about their jewelry. So those are my two like worst. Oh, um those are my two worst experiences with MLMs, but I also got to experience Beachbody whenever I was like 8. because my elementary school PE teacher was a yeah, you can find the same stuff on Wish, like or like Alibaba, you can order it in bulk. But when I was like 8, our PE teacher in elementary school was a Beachbody coach. So he had us all doing P90X. He had 8-year-olds doing P90X. Put a reserve sign on the table so they can't sit there. I wonder, okay, I don't work there. I haven't worked there since before my cancer diagnosis, which they pretty much fired me over getting diagnosed with cancer. So that's a whole nother story entirely. But I wonder if they still go there because up until I left, they were still going there. Yeah, literally no one cared and they couldn't figure that out. P90, yes, with Shanti. He had 8-year-olds doing it. And like, here's me being like 8 years old, and I'm like crying, trying to do this P90X. Everyone else around me is crying because we're like, this is hard. Like, how do you expect us to do this? And this PE teacher only lasted like a couple months because enough parents complained because all the kids were like crying because we all hated going to PE because we didn't want to do P90X and or insanity. Which, like, if it was like a high school gym teacher, fine. But the fact that he had like 8-year-olds doing it is what kills me. I actually think I had two Beachbody coaches as PE teachers, one in elementary school and one in middle school. I work in the bank. I'll put you on the list. Yeah, now anytime anyone comes in with like business cards and it's like at any job that I've ever had since then, because I've had two jobs since my cancer diagnosis. I've worked at Cracker Barrel and I've worked at now Smoothie King. Or as I like to call him, the barrel of crackers and the king of smoothies. Um, anytime that anyone comes in with like any kind of like business opportunity, or like business cards, I'm like, we'll have someone call you back, and then I never take their like name or phone number. I can barely climb up the stairs to my apartment. The king of smoothies, yes. We have this guy that I work with at Smoothie King, at the King of Smoothies, and you really would think he's the King of Smoothies because he's like super, super buff. I've never heard of Smoothie Planet. We don't have one of those around here. Planet Smoothie, we don't have one of those around here. We have a Smoothie King and Herbalife cafes. That's it. I gotta Google this now. I've never heard of this. Planet Smoothie. Oh, we do have one of those. They're temporarily closed. It's in Kenner. It's literally right down the street from where I work. Okay, so generally speaking, you know it's an Herbalife cafe if they have nutrition in the name of it. Like if it's like we had one in Slidell where I like near where I used to live called Rave Nutrition. We had LA Hub Nutrition, um, um, Planet Nutrition. That's one that I just made up. But stuff like that. They don't have their hours posted on the door. And generally speaking, if you go on like their Facebook website, you'll be able to see on their website that it's got Herbalife in the name. Like that it's like linked to an Herbalife website. Yeah, if you have like a big thing of I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. If you've ever had Smoothie King's Lean One um smoothie, you can make one that tastes just like it at home. That's what I'm drinking right now, or what I was drinking. Um, it tastes just like it. It's got the Slim Fast like powder. I put 2 scoops of that in it. I fill this thing up about this much. I put a banana in it, and I put ice in it, and that's gonna give you. Oh, and I put 2 scoops of turbinado sugar in it, and that's gonna give you almost the same taste. I haven't seen her video yet. I'm gonna have to go check it out. That's not surprising though. She does like a whole lot of anti MLM stuff. Bananas kind of give me heartburn though, real shame. Oh, I love bananas, especially banana bread. Oh my gosh. I love Trader Joe's has a vegan banana bread that is so good. I'm not vegan, but I try to eat vegan whenever I can, and they have this, but I don't know what makes it vegan. I guess there's no egg in it, and it's so good. Um, so I actually have been doing research on the Herbalife cafes, and I went to one of them, and or I actually went to 3 different ones, and they don't. It's so funny because when I walked into one of them, I didn't spend any of my money on it. I didn't spend like any of my own money whenever I went in there. Because I needed to do like review stuff, and I have like a whole like notes thing on my phone. Um I think Deanna did the same thing in her video. Um she like basically like none of them had any like real decorations on it like in there, and I don't know if that's like a rule, but there was only one of them that had there was only one of them that had any decorations, and I'm like, "What is going on? I feel like I've just walked into a prison." They're too broke for decorating. No, it's so true though, because if you think about the cost of operating one of those Herbalife cafes, it's probably really expensive. You have to consider the cost of maintenance for the blenders. You have to think about the cost of your basic stuff, like your cups, your lids, your straws, everything else that you have to have for holding the smoothies. You have to have all the extra stuff that goes into the smoothies because they do all those fancy smoothies. Oh my god, excuse me. They do all the fancy smoothies, like the Ferrero Rocher and the M&M ones. It's very strange. They claim that they're low carb, but I can just look at one of those and tell that it's not low carb. Yes, exactly this. You won't know it's an Herbalife club till you go in. It's Herbalife policy that you can't decorate or advertise, can't use any logos or branding. People who go usually go via word of mouth. Um, so yeah, the only way you can really know is if you go in, or sometimes if you get lucky, you can find their Facebook page and you can see that their website says Herbalife on it. Because some of the ones that I have stumbled across have had their website listed, and it said Herbalife in the website. Also, fun fact: if you work at an Herbalife club, you have to sign up to be an Herbalife distributor after so many months. Yeah, yeah. The one that I had tasted like straight powder. So the reason that they're so secretive is because of Herbalife's policies. So they have, let me see how many pages of rules that they are. One. They have 5 pages of rules on their about their nutrition clubs. Yeah, that's why most people avoid it, because it doesn't even matter if they restructure now to where you can only buy retail. Even if they cut out all the recruiting and everything, most people won't even most people that know about the lawsuits won't even associate with it because of the lawsuits. You probably have at least one. I think just about every single city has them in there. Super dangerous to only be drinking meal replacement shakes, no matter what it is. At least I'm pretty sure you're not only supposed to drink meal replacement shakes. I'm pretty sure it even says, um, because I know at work we have the Lean One protein, and it says on there that you should only replace 1 to 2 meals with a meal replacement shake. Did a shake fast in the past, and now I'm wondering if it was an MLM. Um, It's possible to do a shake fast without it being an MLM. But they want recruits to join their downline. They aren't interested in people just coming to buy. Yeah, because they have to pay completely out of pocket for all the costs of running their nutrition clubs. So that's probably why they're so secretive about it, because they want people to join their downline, because that's literally the only way you can make money off of those nutrition clubs, because most people that run them aren't breaking even, aren't turning a profit. Like, there's a difference between making money and turning a profit, which, yeah, they could be making money, but most of them are not turning a profit. All right, I've got about 4 minutes left. Do y'all have any questions or anything for me? Doesn't have to be like related to like Herbalife or anything, just questions in general. I've been making anti-MLM videos for, let's see, when did I make my first one? About 6 months now. My health is a lot better now. I'm not I'm not considered in remission. I am cancer free now. I'm not considered in remission yet, because I think that's like 7 years cancer free. But since 2020, I've been declared cancer free. I got declared cancer free on December 30th, 2020. Um, that's a good question. Why would someone want to run a cafe if there's no money? Usually it's, I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. I am doing well. All my hair is starting to grow. I've had 2 haircuts since I got done with chemo. So I'm very excited. And I've had 2 fun hair colors since then. Yeah, they believe they will make money one day. Just like why anyone stays in an MLM. Thank you, Harper. Thank you. I've been using Olaplex on it. Well, I say I've been using Olaplex. I just started using Olaplex like a day ago. And don't forget, y'all, please remember to report anything to the FTC. And I'm going to put the website right here where you can find where to report, or how the directions on how to report. So that's about all of my time slot that I have. So thank you all for coming out, and thank you all for joining me in my live stream. And remember, you are worth so much more than being in an MLM. And yeah, that's everything that I have to say. Thank you so much. Bye.